These are my favourite jars. I use them to make all my jams, keep my piccalilli, preserves, chutneys and pickle. They're absolutely fantastic. So I bought myself some new ones, and because they're empty, they'll need filling. And the first thing I'm going to make is, well, it's coming up to Christmas, is a cucumber pickle. Fantastic this, very, very simple, takes about 20 minutes and is great with cold meats, some of that leftover turkey after Christmas, ham, lovely with beef, great with cheese, and it's so much easier and quicker to do than piccalilli. So here we go. Okay, for the cucumber pickle, obviously we need some cucumbers. 2 large cucumbers will fill 2 of these lovely Kilner jars. So what I've done with the cucumber is I've taken some, but not all, of the skin off with the peeler. I've cut them in half, and then with the teaspoon I've hollowed out all the seeds to get rid of the seeds, and then I've laid them on a tray and sprinkled them with some salt for about 10 minutes just to draw out some of the impurities in the cucumber. No more than 10 minutes, otherwise the cucumber starts absorbing the salt. Wash them off, dry them, and then dice them about 2 centimeters. So 2 cucumbers, 1 red pepper, cut roughly the same size as the cucumber. For the spices, I've got some star anise here, 2 or 3 star anise, mustard seed, fresh garlic, and 2 whole onions, again diced the same size as the cucumber and peppers. And to add a little spice, because this pickle is going to be sort of sweet, sour and slightly hot, I'm going to use 2 of these red chilies. To thicken the pickling vinegar, in here I've got 40 grams of corn flour and 40 grams of mustard powder with about half a teaspoon of turmeric, which gives it a slight sort of piquant flavour and a lovely colour. I need 375 millilitres of cider vinegar and 250 grams of soft brown sugar. Okay, so I've diced the cucumber, which has been marinating in salt for about 10 minutes, washed and then diced. Here it is. And now I'm going to do the chilies. You'll need about 2 whole red chilies. These ones aren't particularly hot, but it's just nice to give it a bit of spice. Take the top off, cut them in half, and then take out the seeds. The seeds are the hottest, and we don't want the seeds in there because it goes from a sweet and sour spicy pickle to something really fiery. So make sure, very important, that you get rid of all the seeds. Just scrape them out. And I'm doing this with my thumbs, so always remember, if you're doing it with your thumb, don't rub your eyes afterwards, because that'll be the last thing you do. Okay, get rid of the seeds, and then just slice them up fairly finely. Alright, that's that. And then straight on top of the cucumber they go. Wipe the rest of those seeds off the board. And now some garlic. I think 3 cloves should be enough. Just chop these up as finely as possible. This is a very straightforward recipe. In fact, it's one of those recipes that are in our new book, Homegrown by Father and Son. And I can promise you it's worth the effort making this, because it really does make a difference to cold meats and things. Tastes delicious. In fact, it's one of Pip's favourites. Last time I made this, 3 jars, lasted about 3 weeks. He must have put it on everything. So chop the garlic up on top of the chilies. Now the next thing I've got to do are the onions. Now I've diced the onions, 2 whole onions, and I've got to blanch those in boiling water. So get a saucepan, half fill it with water, bring it to the boil, throw the onions in, bring it back up to the boil and strain it off and put it into a bowl. Okay, so as soon as the water starts boiling, take the onions, put them straight into the water. It'll immediately go off the boil and bring them back up to the boil. And as soon as they boil, then we can add the peppers. Okay, the onions have come back up to the boil. The next thing I need to do in the same water is put in the peppers. It's the dice of just one red pepper, about the same sort of size as the onions. Bring that back up to the boil and then immediately strain it off and put it into a bowl. Okay, the pan's come back up to the boil with the onions and the peppers. And now I need to strain it off into a colander and strain off the water and into a bowl. Take my spatula. Okay, now the next thing I've got to do is make the pickling spice. Okay, for the pickling spice, I'll need 375 milliliters of cider vinegar. Okay, 375. Straight in the pan. 2 tablespoons of mustard seed. 3 little star anise. Straight in. And the next thing I need is the sweetness, so soft brown sugar. I need quite a lot of sugar for the pickle. 250 grams of soft brown sugar. Straight in the pan. And with my spatula back on the stove just to melt. It takes about 10 minutes. Okay, so the pickling spice now with the sugar, mustard seed, star anise and sugar has come to the boil. Sugar's completely dissolved and it's been infusing the dry spices for about 10 minutes. At this stage we add the cucumber, chili and garlic into the spiced vinegar along with the peppers and the blanched onions. Bring it back to the boil, takes about 2 minutes, and strain it again. This is to give complete flavour to the spiced vinegar. The blanched peppers and onions into the spiced vinegar, back to the boil, strain it off, and then we need to thicken the vinegar to make the pickle. Okay, give that a stir, and as soon as it comes back to the boil, strain off the vinegar into another pan, and then we'll thicken it. So everything's in the spiced vinegar, cucumber, onions, peppers, chili, it's all there. It's just coming up to the boil now, and as soon as it boils, strain off the vegetables again. And put the vinegar back on the stove to boil again. Right, so here we are. Here's all the cucumber pickle. And now this is the thickening agent. In here I've got 40 grams of corn flour, about 40 grams of dried mustard powder, and half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. And I just take 2 or 3 tablespoons of water just to dilute the powders. And then as soon as it's diluted, you pour this straight into the pickling vinegar, and you need to keep it moving so it doesn't catch on the bottom. You need to keep it moving so it doesn't catch on the bottom, and cook it out. It takes about 10 more minutes. Once it's thickened and cooked, you pour it over the vegetables. It smells delicious. I love mustard. Okay, so that's melted. Right, so here's the mustard, corn flour and turmeric. Nicely dissolved in 2 or 3 tablespoons of water. Now the next thing is to get this into the vinegar. Stir that keep it moving, okay, and bring it back up to the boil. It takes about 10 minutes to cook through. Right, here we go. So this is the thickened pickling vinegar. It looks a bit like a lemon curd. Pour that over the vegetables. Make sure it hasn't caught on the bottom. Yes, that's good. You really got to keep it moving, because if it does catch on the bottom, you'll actually burn the vinegar and then the whole thing's ruined and you have to start to make the pickling spice again. So, all the lovely flavours from the cucumber, peppers, chilies, garlic, and the aniseed flavour of the star anise, it's all in this lovely pickling spice. Pour it all over the vegetables, give it a stir. It's a wonderful, wonderful colour. Give it a nice stir. Leave the star anise in the cucumber pickle. Let it cool slightly for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll get them into these magical Kilner jars. And that's it. And there you have it. 2 jars of cucumber pickle ready for Christmas. I promise you, it's delicious.